understand. I don't hate her. I hate what she's become. I hate the illness.
Wouldn't it be better if you put her someplace?
You mean an institution? A madhouse? People always call a madhouse someplace, don't they? Put her in someplace.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean it to sound uncaring.
What do you know about caring? Have you ever seen the inside of one of those places? The laughing and the tears, and the cruel eyes studying you. My mother there. But she's harmless. She's as harmless as one of those stuffed birds.
I am sorry. I only felt... It seems she's hurting you. I meant well.
People always mean well. They cluck their thick tongues and shake their heads and suggest oh so very delicately. Of course, I've suggested it myself. But I hate to even think about it. She needs me. It's not as if she were a maniac, a raving thing. She just goes a little mad sometimes. We all go a little mad sometimes. Haven't you?
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of the Redhead Boy podcast, hosted by me, Harry Allen. Welcome. Happy Thursday everyone, the 4th of June. We're in June already. Where did May go? I can't believe that. Where did May go? Anyway, today I have another great episode for you guys to listen, and I have a brilliant guest on today. It is my filmmaker friend James Mansell. He is an award-winning filmmaker, a writer-director that has directed several horror short films, as well as produced a range of corporate videos for a range of companies. We had a great conversation today. It was great to talk to James about his career and how he has found himself directing now. It was truly interesting. Truly, hopefully for any of you aspiring directors out there, including myself, will find this episode extremely enlightening. And I'm not going to talk anymore, so let's crack on with this episode. Hello.
Hello.
Hi James, you alright?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. I was wondering for a minute, where you end up staring at your laptop going, what is going on right now? I don't know why you weren't showing up there for a minute.
Yeah, I also had to do an update on it, which, it wasn't letting me join, but...
that's fine.
Good to chat.
Yeah, technology, always fun.
Yeah.
Cheers to you.
Cheers. I saw a funny a meme that was basically like, the end of a Scooby-Doo where they reveal the villain.
Yeah.
And they pull it off and it's just the Zoom logo. Because, where did Zoom come from?
Yeah, no, it just...
There's a lockdown and then Zoom is like, oh, hi, come and use me. So,
yeah, like the most popular thing all of a sudden.
Yeah, like no Skype,
Yeah, and now everybody else is jumping on the bandwagon as well. I saw like Google and all that are doing that as well.
I know. Well, it's the future.
No, yeah. Oh, thank you so much for coming on. Thank
That's
you
all
so
right.
much. No, I literally realised this the other day. This will be us like for the first time verbally talking to one
I
another.
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I like to talk to everyone for the first time on a podcast. You know, that's
Yeah,
the
as you
way to
do.
do it.
We'll be fine.
Yeah.
We'll be fine. Don't worry.
Yeah.
No, thanks so much for coming on. We've known each other for like a few years now,
We
and
have.
we've
Yeah.
just been talking over Twitter, and we've never actually like verbally communicated with one another.
I
So
know.
it's it's a pleasure to like verbally speak to you. So
Yeah.
yeah, thanks again for coming on. No, I
No
appreciate it.
problem.
This should just be like a fun, chill chat. So there's nothing like particularly serious about it or anything. So don't worry, you're all good. You're good.
That's all right. I can do serious as well. So you know,
Cool.
whatever,
Yeah.
whatever you got.
Cool. No worries. Did you want to just start off? I normally get like the guests to just introduce themselves and sort of say what you do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, my name is James, and I'm a filmmaker who is. I'm currently working for a creative agency. So I make films with branded content, lots of them films for commercial companies and such. And I'm a short filmmaker as well. Yeah, I try and do a bit of everything really.
Cool. No, that's always good. Like stretching yourself on to like different areas and stuff like that. So that's always good
Absolutely.
to keep it varied.
Yeah.
I just wanted to ask, because I always find this interesting. Every person that I've asked so far on this has been like a different answer. What would you say is like your defining moment that you knew that you wanted to work in, like create films or be a filmmaker? That's always an interesting answer.
Yeah, good question. Well, for me, it's there was definitely a point, whether or not I knew it's what I wanted to try and do for a living. But there was a moment when, and it's going back to when I was 13, I think. Basically, I was completely obsessed with wrestling, and I read Mick Foley's autobiography, "Have a Nice Day," which is a great read. And in it, he basically gets a camera and makes a film for one of his wrestling characters. So I basically just did the same thing. I thought that sounded really fun, and I did it. And I enjoyed it so much. I made a 40-minute film basically around me, my brother, and two of my mates, and we were wrestlers. And you know,
Sick.
it's my best work.
I bet.
And after that, I just carried on doing it and carried on writing new little stories. And then that was when I became completely obsessed with making films. And then it was a case of, I got a bit older and realized I could drop out of school instead of going to sixth form and go and study media in a college, and probably actually try and do it for a living. So yeah, it's a long time ago that I sort of got the bug, but
Cool.
yeah, that was definitely the point.
Yeah, cool. That sounds really good. Is that film like somewhere still like, you know, saved
Yeah,
somewhere? Is it
it's
really?
on a very old VHS in
Nice.
my parents' house, which I've been meaning to digitize, so it will last forever. But I have
Forever
a
and ever.
feeling I'll come to do it, and the VHS will just disintegrate in my
Disintegrate.
hands.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Secretly, it will be like, this does not. Yeah. This does not
Yeah.
want to be seen anymore by anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
That
Yeah.
sounds really cool that you like, especially when it's like 40 minutes. That was like, you know.
It was a lot. Well, the wrestling matches were each about 20 minutes long, and it was just my brother filming us just wrestle in my middle brother's bedroom. But it had a story. I mean, it was about a guy that they go and join a local wrestling company, and then they realize like the search for power and to be better than basically got in the way of their friendship, and they realize by the end of it that actually their friendship's more important than their wrestling careers, and they end by hugging.
Cool. Oh.
So I thought, I actually wrote a proper,
Yeah.
there's an actual three act structure to it.
Yeah, there's an actual arc there. No, it's good.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I didn't know that at the time. It was just coming from inside.
Yeah, cool. That That sounds hilarious. When you do digitalize that, send it over to me, and I'd love to.
Yeah, I will. I'll put it on YouTube and
yeah,
yeah,
that'd be
watch
cool.
it.
No, so you said about dropping out of like sixth form and doing college and doing media and stuff like that. So could you talk to me about how you sort of like got started within the industry and stuff like that? How your first steps?
So I'm from Derbyshire, which obviously it's not anywhere near London. So what I did was so I did college and I did BTEC, National Diploma in Media Studies, and so that I was doing all of that, and then I went to do a something or other as a when I would have gone to university. I didn't. I went off to do something else, an HND in media. So anyway, I was doing all of that, and I basically dropped out of all that and sort of had a few years of just to figure myself out. But when I was, I think when I actually decided to first try and actively pursue a career and say, how can I actually get employed and get on the first step? So what I was doing first was I was traveling from Derbyshire to London to do anything. So I was doing music videos, I was doing short films as a runner, I turned up to do a runner on a zombie film and ended up being a zombie in it. And so I basically, which was great fun. So I had about a year of doing that, which can only get you so far. So I started making my own films as well. I thought I need to do my own stuff. So I was directing these very tiny short films, and basically I shot one and I needed to hire a camera, and I hired it from a facilities company in Manchester. And while I was there, they said to me, I was really keen and talking to them about, because I thought, getting a job in working with cameras, and that's a paid job. Obviously everything in TV is on contracts, which scared me at the time. So I thought, what if I could get an actual day job that I was in? So I looked at like photography studios near where I lived, and I tried for a lot of places. But so this facilities company in Manchester invited me for a day of work experience, and at the end of the day, they said, we can't hire you, but there's our main branch is in London, and they hire drivers to drive the kit around London. And I had an interview the next week, and then the following week I got the job and started in London. So that was it. That was my first job, which was working for Procam TV, that are a huge facilities company in London. And I moved to London, and that was it really. So so that was definitely when I thought, I've actually got a job now. Everything before was I mean, small music videos, nothing significant. I was an extra for 2 days in a film called The Damn United, which is Tom Hooper's first directorial.
I haven't watched it, but
about Brian Clough, and they filmed in Chesterfield, which is the town I'm from in Derbyshire. They filmed in the football ground, because it's the oldest. It's now knocked down, but it was the oldest ground in the country at the time, and they needed basically because it's set in the late 60s, early 70s. So they came and filmed, and I was an extra there for 2 days, and so I was just doing as much as I could and trying to see if there was an opportunity, and then obviously I got one, which brought me here.
No, that's good. That's always great when you find yourself finding the opportunity, and then it just snowballs. It like rolls into something else. That's really cool. That's you obviously showed some like serious enthusiasm, like for them to go, like, we don't have a job here, but then it's good.
I mean, I've always, and I still do, I just think I kind of figured out really early on that you sometimes don't know what an opportunity is, so you just have to you can't dismiss anything because it's too small or you don't think it's going to go anywhere. So I would give everything. It's tiring, but if you give it absolutely every opportunity 100%, and an opportunity can create more opportunities. I knew all it was going to take was someone to go, here's a number of someone, and you talk to them, and that was a really good example getting that job really early on that my experience, my CV, my education basically didn't get me that job. I'm sure it helped subconsciously, but they didn't even look at my CV. That you just have I had an interview with them, and they had got that I'd been referred by the place I did the work experience. So they just were like, yeah, great, come along for an interview. We spoke for 10 minutes. I went for a drive around the block in the van so they could see I could actually drive. And the thing that they would do is they would hire more people than they needed by about half. And then within 3 months, you'd either have people leave, people would be sacked. They would, so it was quite a ruthless way in, because getting the job wasn't so hard. It was basically keeping it. Because there's just no room for error. But yeah, and I had a few near misses in those early days. But
I bet. Yeah. Now, so then did you get to, when you say about you were driving like the kit around, did you get to like physically get your hands on some kit while you were doing that job, or not really? It was more loading the vans and stuff.
Yeah, it was basically loading. So the company is set up so, and there are lots of different facilities companies, that basically there's about 4 different roles you can have. So the one you started with was a driver. So you would turn up and you would just sign your van out, and there'd be people working in the warehouse who'd be prepping the cameras and the lights and the equipment, and they would load up. You would load up the van with their equipment, and you would have maybe 10 drops in the day, all at different times, and you had a sat nav, and that was it. That was your day. So what it meant was you didn't get to use the kit, but you get to turn up on location or at studios, and you hand the kit over, and you're slowly getting to know what consists of a kit. So you drop off a PSC kit at a location, and the operator would say, is everything here? And you would say camera, lenses, sticks, lights, spare batteries, accessories, sandbags, and you would tick it off the list, and it was your responsibility to make sure you handed everything over. And then on the way back, you would go, and so you do pickups, and you go and you would make sure you had everything, because that kit was going back in the warehouse, getting turned around and going out again. So if you didn't bring something back, that was there was a lot of blame going on. It wasn't, so you really had to very quickly learn. But then you'd come back, and there'd be an hour till your next drive, so you would go and help someone prep a tripod, and you do that for, could be a week, could be a year, and then you got promoted into being in the warehouse, and then you were actually prepping the kit to go out and cleaning it, and and I drove for 4 months, and then I got promoted into the warehouse, and then you're with the kit for the entire day. So
that's cool. That must have been like a really valuable education in terms of like what is needed on a shoot and stuff like that, I suppose.
I mean, it was the stuff I learned. So I was there for just under 5 years, but then everything I learned there is like, I mean, it was some of the most important things that I learned, and things which you don't learn really anywhere else. Down to stuff that like grips and sparks, and gaffers know, like how to stand up C-stands in a line with the legs so they're all on top of each other, and stuff that you wear so many hats. So you're a camera operator, you're a camera assistant, you're probably a sound recorder at some point. So you learn all that stuff, and you're learning it with operators and DOPs that have been in the industry for how many years, so you learn safety, you learn how to make sure kit doesn't get damaged, and then on top of all that, you learn, once you get near the end of your time at the company, you learn how to light, and you learn how to shoot, and you learn and you learn things like set etiquette, and what to do and what not to say, and to never be late, and to never stand around and always hold something, and never walk somewhere empty-handed, and all this stuff that I now, when I work with crew, I can see the ones which have really done it, and I see the ones which are not quite so clued up on it. And so I mean, it was like,
that sounds like I'm kind of jealous of that, because that sounds like a free like film school. Because obviously I went to film school in Brighton, and obviously that's what we got taught with all that and stuff. But that sounds like a really valuable free experience that you're getting paid to be there, but also learning so much.
I mean, that was I didn't go to university. I don't have a degree in anything. I did 6 months of an HND and dropped out. So
that's
so in that was my degree. That's made me it made me employable. It gave me confidence. It gave me contacts. It gave me credits. It did everything. Most people that do that type of job want to be sound recorders or camera operators working in broadcast television. So everyone I started with, a lot of them are now operators on things like Geordie Shore and Love Island and X on the Beach and Made in Chelsea, and that's the type of career it gives you, and it almost hands it to you if you work really hard. A few people went to work in drama, so I know a guy that's a focus puller, and I know a guy that's a second AC that just did Bond, and so a few people break off there. I went off and did production and went into directing, which is again quite a shift. So if you wanted to have a career as working as a camera operator in TV, obs doc TV, factual, it's like it is the gateway into that type of career.
Cool, yeah. No, and I bet that's a valuable education, going from having that job and then now be directing stuff. I guess it gives you like a already like found respect for those people. And
I mean, working with crew, confidently knowing what everyone on the crew is doing, or nearly everybody, is now absolutely invaluable to have. So I shoot a lot of my own stuff that I direct, because obviously sometimes budgets are non-existent. So you shoot, you pick up the camera, you mic up whoever, and then you shoot. But then the second half, which you don't get to know when you're shooting, is shooting for the edit, which obviously you are only shooting for the edit. So you experienced camera operators are giving the editor everything that they need. They're not shooting what they think will be the finished edit. And when because I edit as well, so when I have 3 days to edit and I get the rushes, and a camera operator has little things like you don't shoot a practice shot. So if you're going to do a pan from someone here to the left, someone onto the right, and you don't turn over and then practice it a bunch of times, because that's that much time wasted. You practice it, you press record, you hold the shot for 10 seconds, so that's a static. You do the move, and then you hold the end shot for 10 seconds. You give the editor the pan and the 2 shots either side, and even if someone walks through and waves, you don't cut, because the editor might want to use the bit after it.
So you give them as much coverage as possible.
Exactly. And now that's what I know I need. When you edit someone else, a camera operator's work, and you say they're doing a big tilt down, like a pole, and then it's all smooth, and they get to the very end and they decide it wasn't very good, and they quickly go up and do it again. It's so infuriating if you only wanted to use the top of the move, because now you can't, because they were like, oh no, So and little things like, I've had camera operators who forget who leave the turnover button running, and I've got 10 minutes of them having coffee.
Or
little thing. That in TV, if you did that too much, you'd get a note from the editor and you'd get told, and you probably wouldn't be on the show much longer. Because the edit time is down to hours, and if 10 minutes is wasted because operator C forgot to stop running, that's a massive problem. So
yeah, and it is always frustrating when I've gone to like look through rushes and stuff, and the camera operator hasn't given a chance for the shot to breathe at the end. So there's like, there's not enough. Just having that little extra couple of seconds at the end can really help out the editor or whatever.
Well, that's 101 camera operating, is hold the shot.
Yeah.
So if you're shooting GVs of a crowd and you're picking out people, you have to give every shot. You have to hold the shot. And that's something which I remember not doing, and I got told to make sure I do. So yeah, that's the type of stuff that you can see if someone hasn't really done it for an editor, or doesn't really process the role of the operator. And now as a director, I need things shot in sequences. So if you shoot me a mid shot and a close up, I'm going to assume you've shot a wide shot, because I'll need an establishing shot showing the room. Or if you've shot details, so if I'm shooting you on your laptop and you've shot a close up of your face and close up of your fingers, I want to know where you're sat. And it's, you shoot in sequences, so the editor is just looking for those shots.
It's common practice. So
that's everything that got drilled into me.
Cool.
While I was operating.
No, that's good. And then you don't get like a massive student loan at the end of it. So well done you. Well done. No, tell me like what you did like after being at that company. What was like the next step for you?
So I basically I was been there about 4.5 years, and I'd been in the crew pool. So you finish the warehouse, and then you are. So if you hire a camera, most kit rooms will be able to get you an operator with it, which comes with a kit, and it's their responsibility. So you don't have to hire them separately. So with the company I was at, they would have a crew pool of about 5 or 10 camera operators that would be essentially kit. So I spent maybe 1.5 years. Crew, that's the end. Crew pool, you spend as long as you want in crew pool. You get your contacts, you get your network, and you leave. And you get a job. So I was in crew pool, and I did lots of shows, and I was assisting, and I was lighting, and so I was like I was on location a lot, and I did that for as long as I felt like I wanted to, and I wanted to try and get into directing, and there's no real progression. No one's going to hire you as a. I was looking at the types of shows I operated on, and you've got PDs, which obviously they are the most senior in factual as far as the production goes, and then you've got things like.
Could you just explain what PDs are to anybody that doesn't know what that means?
So in factual and sort of and documentaries, basically, PD is a producer director that will work with the. So you've got editorial, which is producer directors, which basically they're in charge of making sure everything is captured, all the correct content has happened, and then you've got production, which are the ones that basically like logistically run the shoot. They work together. So I did a lot of Made in Chelsea, and the producer director was on location, making sure that the contributors were saying the correct things, and the day was finished, and he or she had everything that was needed. So so it's there's less creative control in TV, but you are basically running it, and you're making sure that you've got everything you need. So there's other roles that are similar. So you've got shooting APs, which is associate producers, which are sort of the role behind the PD. So they shoot with the main cameraman, camera operator, and they may have smaller story threads that they produce. And then you've got DV directors, and you've got lots of roles like that. So I basically was trying to think what could I do that what could I go from with my contacts from ProCam as a camera operator that wouldn't mean I went down to a runner, but I could shoot and and try. So I basically spent 6 months trying to talk to everybody, and it was going to be tricky to do that, and I didn't want to go freelance as a camera operator because you've then got to put all your effort into getting work. And
Yeah.
so I quite fortuitously had a conversation with someone who actually hired me at the company, who had since left and worked for a production company now, and had an account with PwC, the financial services company, who were one of their clients, and they were looking for someone to come on board as a junior PD who would basically be able to be the company's camera operator, which means they save money on hiring a freelancer.
Yeah.
And get a junior producer director to come and work on corporate films. And I went for an interview with that company, and they basically just gave me a shot and said, okay, you've got a really steep learning curve. You have to learn how to be a producer director and work on branded content and corporate films. And every shoot that requires a camera operator, you're going to be the camera operator. And that is the company I still work for. It's changed quite a lot since, but I was a junior producer director there for about a year and a half. And it was great. I mean, I had to learn budgets and scheduling and talking with the clients, and but that was it. So I think it was a lot of luck in it as well, but I needed to. I think my stuff at ProCam was very helpful. So yeah, that was basically how I made that jump.
Yeah, that sounds like that was a right steep learning curve. I bet you were you had to be on your feet for that one.
Yeah, I mean, I had a few weeks of shadowing someone, and but it's really just like a process. You just apply, and you have a conversation and you work with production. So it was much smaller than in TV, but there was production managers who would be in charge of the budget, and they'd talk to me about what I needed, and I would say, say you're going to do a piece of camera with someone, and they need it by next week, and you go, I'll film here and I'll edit here, and and every project I did, I figured more things out, and I had people to ask if I wasn't sure of something. I don't know if now, I almost certainly know now the company I work for wouldn't have hired me, just because I think they were in a period where they felt that they could give someone a go and spend the time training them.
Yeah.
So that was lucky. But again, it's back to that opportunity. Everyone I spoke to, I spent 6 months having conversations with literally everybody, asking them what they thought, what could I do. One person said, you could do like a month here, and then you do this, and then that, and so it was just literally just banging on every door I could find, and trying to find something that I felt was an appropriate move, because I didn't want to go sideways. I wanted to somehow go forwards to directing, but not so far back that I'm like, I just wasted 5 years. So
it feels like you started again, which would have been extremely frustrating.
Yeah, and even my boss said to me at the time, he said, no one really goes to do what you want to do. But he was just like, you've got to take everything and you've got to make yourself an attractive proposition for a company, and show that you want to learn. And I'd made my own films, so I knew how a film was made from start to finish, and find a company that's willing to train you, and that was it. So and now I've been doing that for as long as just longer than I was at the facilities company. So I basically got 5 years of both.
Cool, that's great. No, it sounds like, which I've been talking to guests about, and like through everyone that I've talked to through here, it's all about, and you've confirmed it with your answer, it's all about creating opportunities for yourself, rather than I've met so many people that they were like, well, we want to be like this, and just sit around and wait for an opportunity to show up, and I go, that's a total waste of time, because it's not going to show up.
I don't even know how that works.
No.
I think the other thing is you have to be able to identify the opportunities. I remember when I was doing my short stint at college, when I lived in Nottingham, I remember I saw a crew outside and they were filming some TV show on the field near where I lived, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. So I watched them, but I thought, I always ask myself when I'm in any situation, I always ask myself, what can I come away with that I'd feel like I've capitalized on this situation the most. So if I'm going to shoot, I'll try and make sure I make one significant contact, and that contact may be a complete waste of time. They may not know anything, or they may not they may not go anywhere themselves, but I thought I have to at least do something. So anyway, I ran out to this crew and I chatted to the camera operator for 5 minutes, and I said, I asked him for some advice. I can't remember what he said now. But I went away and I thought, okay, and I wasn't then, I'm still not great. I'm not the best at putting myself out there and talking to people and being all sort of, confident people.
Yeah.
And outgoing people get more opportunities. So if you're quieter, you have to go, right, I'm just going to go and ask that one person one question. I'll go home and I'll think about it, I'll write it down, and then I'll think, right, great. So that's it. So I've not wasted that opportunity.
Yeah.
When I was the extra in the Damn United, I befriended a runner who I thought, right, well, maybe I can see where he goes and we can chat, and maybe I'll get a role in the film. And anyway, like a day later, he said that he sacked it all off and he didn't want to do it anymore.
So
I was like, oh, okay, I picked the wrong person. But I was like, well, I've still, that's just bad luck. But I didn't walk away from it thinking I've not done anything. So
that's a really good mindset to have. And you're probably putting yourself down a little bit in terms of like talking to people. You've talked about 2 interviews, and it sounds like you obviously went in there and with a clear goal, and you managed to get the thing out of what you went there to do. So you're probably better than what you think you are.
But it's always better to slightly underestimate what you're capable of. But I know it's and even now, like if I go to a film festival or anything, I can't shake that same the same approach, because it's it sort of becomes ingrained in your in how you work, and this is an industry that you don't get promoted, you don't get jobs handed to you. You have to really fight for them. My feeling when I would walk away from a situation and just be like, oh, what have I because I didn't want to talk to anyone, or because I didn't, I've and it's easy. You pick one thing you want to try and get out of anything, and you come away with it, and then that builds your confidence in the opportunities, and then you might get 10 locked doors over a year, and then you think one will open. That's what my dad always used to say. One's going to open. And there's lots of great quotes, and people said things about the biggest disappointment of human endeavor is to give up just at the point you were about to get somewhere. So you've just got to keep going, and you'll find something.
I think that's like uber important in any like thing that you're passionate with. You've really got to have the drive for it. Loads of people have said they dream to have these like director job or whatever, but and I don't equally have the like experience like you do, but I'm like, you really got to wake up every day and want to like hustle and get there,
Well, I think that's another interesting point, is that it's to think, right, I want to, what do I want to do? I want to direct feature dramas, which a lot of people aspire to do as a living, as a career. But you're so far potentially from there, and if you're here, you've got to feel like there's lots of steps to get there. So I'm just going to focus on the next step, and then if I get the next step, I know I'm a little bit closer, but not to always think about the final step, but to be like, when I was a driver, I thought, right, I'm just going to be the best driver. I'm going to this is all I'm thinking about now, and that's fine. you can really get miserable if you think, oh God, I'm still, I could be like, oh, I'm just making films for brands, and it's all very corporate stuff, and I want to get my teeth into, but that you can't think like that. You have to focus on the steps, and think of it in a sort of macro progression, that you are getting closer, and you'll and then you get the most out of things if you just concentrate on the job you're doing at the time, do that the best you can, because then you'll progress quicker than if you go, I'm just doing this because I want to be 10 steps ahead of this, so I'm just doing this as a part of the process, because whoever else you're working with doesn't want someone that sees it as a, I've worked with people that are like, oh, I'm just doing this for now, and but what I really want to do is something else. And your colleagues don't want to hear that. They want to be like, I am 100% focusing on my job today. And then you keep in the, we used to get people coming into the kit room, and you would say, oh, what do you want to be? What do you want to do in 5 years? And they would come in and say, I'm a cinematographer. And it just, that's the worst thing.
What, they came in and said that off the bat?
Yeah, they say, I'm a cinematographer, I'm just doing this, to get some experience. And you're just like, that may be true, and that's great if you think that, but that's it's just not the type of thing that other people want to hear. You want to say, I'm here to do this, and then but I'd love to do something else,
It's like they're giving themselves the title before they've even earned it.
Exactly. It just rubs people up the wrong way.
Because then you automatically think that person thinks that they're better than the thing that they've come to get, which is
and getting on with people, and people being really happy with you and you being friends. That's the other massive thing in all of this. People want to work with nice people and people they're friends with over people that are really super talented first and foremost. So if you just be the friendliest, nicest, personable person you can be, and people will want to bring you along on their journeys. And so I've worked with people that are just really standoffish and not friendly, but they're just like, I'm an artist, and I'm a this, and you're just like,
you're really hard work to work with. So
I don't want to work with you.
No, I remember having that when I casted my graduation film. This quite well known to Brighton actor came in to play my role, one of my roles, and he came in quite cocksure of himself and made some assumptions of the character that were a bit left field and whatever, and he started doing it in an Irish accent, and I was like, why are you doing it like that? And he was like, oh, it's because I think the character's Irish. And I was like, well, no, he's not Irish. And he came dressed as the character and everything, so he proper went in on one. And then my lecturer was like, oh, you must cast him because he's really good at what he does. And then I didn't, I sort of had the you're quite arrogant and cocksure of yourself. And then the person that came in that I did cast, we just had a laugh and had a good discussion. And then I casted him, and my lecturer was like, why did you not cast the other guy? I was like, because I didn't like his demeanor. So so it's not the last thing I want to do is employ someone that just ends up being an arsehole, pardon my language.
And I think if you have a good grasp on that from being whatever you are, a runner or a PA or whatever, right up to the very top, then that's how you get more work. I did a short film with a cinematographer who his stuff may have been better than others, a little bit better, but he was so difficult to work with, and he was such an artiste that I would never work with him again, because at the end of the day, smaller projects and lower budget projects I think the end result massively is helped by the mood and the atmosphere and the people and the enjoyment they have. No one wants to struggle through something, so I think not understanding the vibe of the project and not being the right person is a really surefire way of just not getting yourself considered again. And that's like, the people that are successful and work a lot are really good friends with everyone that wants to work with them, and that's why they get hired.
I think that's what people like starting out need to realize. They think, like the big people out there like Spielberg and Christopher Nolan and all those sort of people, they feel like they've been like famous for or big in their field for like ever. And then, you dive into like interviews and they said, I've been hustling for the past, 20 years to get to this stage. So, I think some people, but not all of them, are a little bit naive, including myself at the beginning, when I was younger, that this is all that I sort of dreamed of doing. So, but then once you get into the nitty and gritty, you realize you've got to really like hustle and like, you got to, I think my mum used to, or my mum has this saying going, you can aim for the stars and you might get to the top of the trees. So it's like, and I think it's really valid what you said earlier about breaking it down into little baby steps, because as you said, it can get really like depressing and really quite sad when you're picturing this like dramatic goal that you won't get there overnight, and it can
and it's also really good to, and I do this a lot, is just look at other filmmakers and other people that you aspire to create work like, and you just look at their what they did, their progression and the decisions they made, and it doesn't take much to get to the root of people's careers at the early stage. And like you just have to watch Stanley Kubrick's first film, that's like before most people think his first film was, that was a film called Fear and Desire, and it's not good. It's not Kubrick's film. You don't watch it and think, oh, this is, because he didn't start off like that. He's obviously, he was a genius, but he made stuff that wasn't very good. And I think that's quite grounding to look at people's early work, look at people's short films, look at how long people spent trying to get something made. Like I was just listening to Robert Eggers, who obviously did The Lighthouse last year.
Yeah.
If you read about how he got The Witch made, which is this film before The Lighthouse, it took him 6 years to get that made. And I made a short that we pitched a few years ago and was close to getting some interest from studios, and that was 4 years ago that I made it. 3.5 actually. So even that is half the time Robert Eggers took to make The Witch. So I felt like, this didn't go anywhere, and forget that. And that was only 3 years ago. So it is important to just sort of stand back, and there's no point watching a new Chris Nolan film and then go and write your script, because you're like, you should watch his first film, watch Following.
The Following,
and think, that's the film I'm going to aspire to make. And then you look at Memento, and then that's far more useful to look at. Or you look at someone like Gareth Edwards, that obviously did Rogue One, and he did Monsters. And then before that, he spent years at the BBC trying to direct something, and he did Monsters himself, and then he somehow got Godzilla and Rogue One. But there's no point. You know what I mean? I think it's
there's no point looking at the work that they're doing right now. Then because you're not really gonna learn any, or you're not gonna see any clear like progression, like some obvious progression.
Exactly.
Because at the moment when you see like the Tenet trailer for Christopher Nolan, you automatically know it's Christopher Nolan, but the reason that you know it is him is because he's worked years to create his vision and his own visual style and his way of storytelling, which is nuts. I really don't know how he manages to write some of the stuff that he does, without getting deeply like confused.
Even if you watch Following, you still know, you can still understand his approach to writing a story and a script. And so that's, but he was a nobody, and he and Following's fine. He was lucky because it was in the period when those types of films were getting a lot of traction. Sort of off the back of Reservoir Dogs and the sort of 90s boom of indie films. It's a completely different world now. So you look at first films now that have been made recently, and you look at those, and so it's I think it's very important to continually try and make yourself feel better when you're making something, and then make something which you feel is your next step and your next what's needed from you next. And if it's bad, and I've made shorts which I didn't think was very good, then the next one I think will be better. And I thought, well, I needed to have gone through that process to get that process and and it is just just figuring out what your route is from the very beginning, because everyone's done it differently, or you're a filmmaker like Sam Raimi, who made The Evil Dead when he was like 19, and but that's his. That's him.
No, I think you highlighted like a clear word saying about finding like your own like path or your own way of doing it. Because there's no point of trying to emulate, the pathways of other directors, because that's not going to work for you. So
and then once you've found that route, you just gotta own it, and you've got to make it part of you and who you are, and then that's what people want to buy into, and you make it sort of, as awful as it sounds, you make it like your brand, and then then you're showing that you have a clear idea of who you are and what your thing is. And my 5 years working in the camera department in TV, that's shaped everything, the way I work and who I am. So great, that's me. And I look at other people and they go, oh, they worked for 5 years in visual effects, and that's shaped who they are. I'm like, great, that's their thing, So it is just thinking, what am I doing now that's gonna, and now I've spent 5 years working on branded content. I go into a meeting, and when they say, what's your experience working with some tight schedules, I'll say, well, I've had tight schedules for the last 5 years. So and then they'll say, what's your experience working with the crew? And I'll say, well, I just did this 5 years before that. And so it's all valuable, it's all useful, but it's just it's your thing, it's your road.
What sort of thing do you take along with you, like, to those meetings? Like, do you take like a portfolio with you, or do you take like your laptop with you? Or
well, I mean, it really depends on what the actual purpose of the meeting is. So if you were pitching an idea, obviously you would hope you had some material or something, but there's lots of different ways of doing that, and whatever you think is the best way of doing it. If you have a general with someone and it's just a face-to-face, I mean, it does really depend on what the meeting is. But I'm a big fan of just chatting with people, having coffee and talking, and like I would always want to have a conversation with someone, like you were saying, first, to get to know them and who they are. And there's that thing about getting to know someone before you work with them, and then the next meeting is when you talk about
because you want to make sure that you actually gel together as
exactly. And I've had meetings that people have put together for me, and it was a bit odd at first, because I was sort of like, what's the like I have a producer who's a friend of mine in LA, and she knew someone in a production company in London who did stuff like 47 Meters Down and a few different horror movies, and I met up with him, and we just had a coffee, and we just talked for an hour, and there was nothing out of the end of it, but it is just about talking to people. So that another thing I would say is, which I think has to be honed from an early stage, is the art of having engaging conversations with people and being and talking, and because you'll get people who will just want to meet you for 15 minutes and that'll be it, and then you have a chat with them, and you might have another one, and then when a project comes up, maybe you work with them. So I've had lots of meetings where I don't really know why it was going, we were just talking, but then you follow it up with something more specific and you've already got to know each other. So that was something I had to figure out how to do early on, was just be able to look relaxed and have conversations.
Yeah, that's tricky really, without also it's tricky to come like into those meetings and not try and have like an agenda, like, because the people that you're talking to can see, like, the only reason that you're talking to me is that you're hoping to get something from this. You sort of go like, I had a conversation like that with a guy that ran a production company, and we talked for about 3 hours, and then eventually he was like, "Oh, do you want to come in and do a bit of work?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." Because you can tell the people that come in there and you go, they just want to get down to like, what are you going to do for me, rather than just sitting down and just having a discussion about whatever.
And that's the whole thing of those opportunities, and you don't know what opportunity someone might help you with, but if all you got was someone saying, by the end of the conversation, "Oh, here's you might want to chat with this person," then great, that's something. Or you've just come away and you're a little bit more familiar with the process. You're a bit more familiar with, maybe they've told you some stories, and maybe they've told you some things that they heard and some things, and and you're just like, great. And it's just another name, another contact that you might email in a year's time, and that it's all about knowing people. You can't do this alone. You have to know people, and that's how you get to know someone. So
I would say also as well that it's like, don't be like disheartened if it doesn't like turn into anything. It's literally be like, okay, I had a nice time talking to that person for 3 hours or 15 minutes or whatever, and if something turns into that, then that's cool, and if it doesn't, then it's fine. So try not to beat yourself up about should I talked about this, or should I have been more friendly, or should I have smiled more, then
if you have that approach, then I think you'll look out for those meetings a lot more, and you'll find them, nobody wants to be sold something they're not expecting, or be pitched something, and you don't want to have a chat with someone and then they'll suddenly sort of pull out a deck and pitch you an idea if you weren't ready for it. So,
or like, here's my script here, would you mind reading it? So
it's like horribly cliche that you but on the other hand, you've got to get it to them. So
it's just like reading the room, isn't it, really? So I wanted to ask you, just because I'm interested and I wanted to be nosy, and also I'm in that sort of predicament myself, how, like, you talked about how you worked in the camera department and then obviously worked your way into directing where you were getting paid for it, but could you tell me like your first, like, jumping from the camera department to all of a sudden you were like, well, not all of a sudden, but then you were directing like your first bit of branded content, like what was the how did that come about? Because a lot of people obviously dream about directing and getting paid for it, So, and a lot of people not really sure how those opportunities come about. You know, one day you're working in the camera department, and the next day you're managing to direct something for HSBC or something.
Yeah, well, so that was through this this contact that I had, and that was just a conversation I had with her, and then no different to finding a job. So I got hired there, and I worked there for a couple of weeks, and I shadowed another producer at the company. But yeah, so you know they have an office, and you sit in the office, and so I had a line manager that basically told me what to do. And I didn't know how it was going to work at first, but we were on an account that was PricewaterhouseCoopers, and we had weekly calls with the two clients, and they get sent briefs from inside the company. So you know, someone will be working on a certain floor, and they'll have Q2 update, and they'll want to put it out as an animation. They decide, and they send these clients, our two contacts, a brief saying, I want a 2-minute animation. I've got 3 weeks. I've got 10 grand. I like this one we did. Here's a script. And I would be sent that. I'd be allocated that. And you basically, I just learned the process, and it's the same process now. It's probably the same process I use for a short film or my own project. If there's a different producer, it's all a bit different, but you just talk to the client, you have a kickoff with them, and they tell you what they want, and you go away and you write a proposal. So you basically write a whole deck saying how you propose to do it and the style, and then that has to match the budget if you've been given it. So you obviously don't propose an animation style that is going to be more expensive than they have. You could maybe go a bit more expensive, but that's everything I learned was if they say 10k, they've probably got 15.
There's a little wiggle room.
Or they may not have. Sometimes clients don't like, if they say I've got 10k and you come back with an idea that's 20, they're like, what, you didn't read it, you know. And or if you came back with an idea that was 13, they might find an extra 3, or they might say, what, you know, I like the idea, but I don't have that much money. And then you write up a schedule for them. So you know, from today's today, and you want it in 3 weeks. So I will, I'll do a first version for these 4 days, and then you'll get it so they know when to expect it, and back and forth. And that's it. And then, you know, you work with people to resource the people who are going to make it for you, and you have to. So the role really is facilitating it getting made, making sure it's made to the client's expectation. Something we sort of branding content catchphrase is manage their expectations. So there's a joke I saw on LinkedIn that was a screenshot from Life of Pi, and it said client's expectations. Or client expectation, then it had a guy in his house with a bucket, and it was like reality. So you get people who send you references of, like, you know, the Marvel intro, and you're like,
that's not realistic.
You know, you have to manage them. So you basically say, I can't make you that, because that would have cost probably in excess of $1 million. But I know what you mean, so we can find this, and we can, you know, so you don't compromise on quality, but they has to be made. But so you do that project, but then alongside that project, you might have 4 or 5 other projects. So you manage all your projects at the same time. So I might have a kickoff call at one time, and then an hour later I'll write a script, and then an hour later, and so that was something I had to learn, with managing your workload. And not missing anything, and everything's timed, and you know, so that was basically the process that I learned, and then you apply that to something that's got a 5k budget, or something that's got a 50k budget, you know, so
and I bet that's I just say you take that particular way that you do it onto each thing, and I bet that helps you being like producing your own like short films and stuff. It's useful.
There's massive there's a lot of things which help. Like if you make something for HSBC, they have brand. You learn brand guidelines, so they have colours, red and white, and they have a font. But they also branding is also it's also sort of tone and intent, and you know, some companies are very scientific, some companies are not funny. So now when I make my own thing, it has to feel a whole. So even colors, you know, so if I have a prominent color, the title, you know, maybe even like the grade or whatever, you make it, you have to stand back and think, if I wanted to write down the brand guidelines of this film, I could. You know, and you can't go off brand with companies if you put in a wrong color. You know, with PwC, blue wasn't in their brand guidelines. You never see blue on any PwC external, internal, anything. So we would have creatives where we would show the ocean, and you say, well, what color do you have it? And you know, you have to have it white or gray, or you know, they don't have green. So if you have trees in your animation, you have to, you know, make them yellow. So that's all stuff that you that just becomes part of your process. You don't you have to always question it, and
second nature.
So go and watch anything on Netflix. From the second you click play, to the Netflix branding, to the film's branding, to the credits, you know, it all feels like it was from a book that someone had written, and that's part of that's how you make something feel professional. Is it's all married, it all syncs. You know, you get some shows where a title will come up halfway through and you're like, where did that come from? It's, you know, it's not in keeping, and sometimes that's the point, and other times it's because it's you know, anything, like if you watch any show that has titles that come up, you know, like Killing Eve does it a lot, where it's like a big title, animation, timing, color, sound, it's all the same, it all feels right, and that's because it's
that particular show's like identity, and like, you know, the way
music, timing. So if you had a new director on for one episode, they would have to stick to that, because that's the so when you watch a short that is inconsistent across 3 minutes with that type of thing, that's, you know, that's someone that isn't following their own rules. And everything from, you know, the way you cut to the use of fades and the use of whatever it is and the speed of the cutting. You go from one scene that's really quick cut and the next scene that's differently cut, it's not really going to work.
It takes you out.
And that's something which I learned.
No, that's a valuable. I never sort of made that connection in terms of how it could connect to like corporate and branded stuff. Obviously a lot of people use the whole like creative vision way of doing it, but that's interesting. It's good. So
just watch anything, and as soon as you start applying it to anything you watch, you'll see when it's not there, and stuff you see that's broadcast, it's probably done intentionally. But anything, you know, like Fleabag was so tight with its style, from her timing to the music to the way that the titles come up at the end. You'd have the producer on that would have been watching those rushes and those edits and going, this has got to be Fleabag. And that's, you know, when things are copied, it's because they copy that style, which is so evident and clear.
That's a valuable bit of advice, really, to make to make your work stand out, like professionally and in terms of its identity. That's good. So to move on from the branded stuff and then into your like more creative, your short film stuff. I thoroughly enjoyed rewatching some of your work, which was good. Actually, I rewatched all of it just to prep myself for this. And I wanted to talk about how we sort of started talking originally. So I don't know if you remember how we originally started communicating with one another? Do you remember?
I can't. I can't
That's
remember.
fine if you
Any,
can't. That's fine if you can't.
you sent me one of your films. Was that the? Oh no,
Uh,
did I send you?
no. We knew each other before then, so I can do a bit of the story if you don't remember. That's fine. It's been a while. I would, and plus I'm not that important, so it's fine. I would. So I this was around like 2016, and I was writing a film blog where I was writing about like just everything film, and somehow I managed to to get into a film festival as press, which was hilarious. And so I got into the Discover Film Festival
Oh right, yeah, of
back
course.
in 2016, and you had two films showing there that year, and which was Nightmare and Under the Bed.
Yeah.
Which Under the Bed I actually forgot that you had at that film festival, and then I rewatched it and I was like, I've seen this like somewhere else,
Yeah.
and then I was like, oh no, he had two in that year. So I went to see, and which Discover Film is like this tiny little film festival that's in London, in like a very I think it's a very old cinema. And I remember going, and I found it hilarious that I had my little press badge, and I was like, I only write a blog, so which was hilarious. And we had a really good time, and two of your films were featured in that as the ones that I said.
Remember?
And then
Yeah.
I think I wrote about I wrote about Nightmare on my blog posts because I wrote about my favourite films that I'd seen there. And then somehow you contacted me saying, "Oh, thank you so much for the review." And then we've just kept in contact through that.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is
I remember now. I
yeah,
remember.
which is nuts,
Yeah.
crazy. Which I think is really nice, and I really appreciate you like kept in contact with me and stuff, and I've sent
Pleasure.
you some bits over and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm jealous of your website because I really need to sort mine out. It's a bit, well, first it hasn't really got much on it at the moment, so it needs to be like proper sorted out. But yeah, no, I thoroughly enjoyed going over your stuff. Especially I watched Under the Bed, and I forgot generally how short it was.
It's short.
It's like so short, and then I watched it and I was like, this is like still really effective. I was like, yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. There are
yeah.
actually there are 3 other versions of the same
Oh yeah?
story. Yeah, it got entered into a festival in Las Vegas, which was one of the first ones it got into, and I was really excited about it. And then they emailed me and said that last year they had a film that was the same. It's called something different, but if you go online and look for them, there's that idea, which I heard. I didn't write that. Is been done a few times, and one does it better than I. That one did something really clever. But yeah, that's a 2-sentence horror story.
Yeah, no, it is really really effective, and the kid's performance is really, the kid that you've got in that is he's good. He's good in it.
Yeah, so that was his first acting role, and it's the one and only time I've worked with children of that age.
Yeah,
which is fine. It's a
yeah.
short
Good.
day. That's the only. Didn't last very long.
No, it's good. I would because it was interesting because I've never been only for recent years I've never been a huge horror fan. In terms of my brain, like it absorbs everything. So when I was like younger, if I watched something scary, it would I'd have nightmares about it for the next 3 months. And then it's only been since getting into film properly in recent years I really got into horror. So tell me why horror is your this is probably a really in-depth answer, or probably is your why'd you go for horror? Why'd you go for the genre that is horror?
Yeah, that's a good question. And one, so I think basically horror for me it was the first genre that I really liked, and I think there's a good reason why I started making it. But as far as the reason why I became interested in it, that, I mean, dates back to, I don't know, I was really young, and it had something I can't remember what it was, but something had a very profound effect on me. And it's basically like a, it's like a drug. I was just like, it's like a roller coaster. It's, but the reason I started making it was quite simply because I made a few shorts which aren't on the website, which weren't very good, and I just thought, I need to play to my strengths. So I thought, what I need to make. I never thought about making horror, to be honest. Originally, I thought, I want to do something a bit more serious and a bit more depth. And I thought, I need to make something. I need to give myself the best chance of making a really, really good short film. Something which I get, like, tonally, and I get the atmosphere and timing, and so I was like, well, I'll make a horror short. That was, so then I did Under the Bed, and I enjoyed it so much, and I realized it was what I was good at, and it's what I knew. And there's a lot of reasons why filmmakers start with horror, because it's completely around atmosphere, and it's a real director's genre, in the way you move the camera, and it's just a lot of fun to make. There's a lot of reasons why filmmakers start with it, but and it's got a tradition of low budget. Horror movies are low budget by nature. You don't start off making short films and making an action film or a sci-fi film, because you have to find ways of stretching the budget. So if I want to make a horror film and I've got a room and a person and a camera, I probably can't make something that's about that's a drama around relationships. I probably can't make a comedy. Right? I could make a comedy. That's why people say comedy and horror are very similar. But I could make a horror. I turn the lights off and I have someone trapped in a room that's going mad or whatever, and you find a fun little hook, and you've got a horror film. So as a basis to practice and experiment and learn, and that was it. And you can make a feature horror. The best horrors are low budget, So if you look, a lot of filmmakers use it as a springboard to do other things, and it's just a lot of fun to write and to come up with, and you can do it without any dialogue, which is like that. To me, that's a short film. Short film should be low on dialogue anyway. You should tell it all with the camera and with actions, and you can do that with horror. So yeah, lots of reasons, but I think it's just fun as well. Just good fun.
Yeah, no, I was writing a horror like last year that I need to go back to, but they do look good fun to do, and there's something about trying to like scare someone, but also trying to scare them not with just the jump scares. It's all about building up like tension and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, there's so many different things you can do. And there's you can experiment with pretty much everything, with whether it's a day, it's at night, who's in it, and I think horror has a firm place in short films as well. Like short people enjoy watching 2-3 minute horror shorts less than they watch a 25-minute drama about a couple, so it's just depending on what you want to make, what you want to do with it. Stuff like Lights Out, like David F. Sandberg's work, that's I mean, for someone that wants to just to give something a go with very minimal kit, that's he's like pioneering what you can do with 2 people in total, cast and crew, 2 people. So yeah.
And I think that leans on to like the thing where we were talking about earlier about somebody trying to do something that's you just can't do at that time. So
Mm.
it's like I took a break from directing for a while because my third year of my degree was just like really stressful, and I managed to write a film that was in like 6 locations, and it was all like shot on the streets of Brighton. I was like, when you write something and then you propose it and it gets picked, and then you're like, oh shit, I have to make this now.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize how stressful it was going to be. So
Yeah.
my new one that I'm working in, I was like, because they always say like, write an idea that you have in a location that you have access to.
Yeah.
So my new one that I'm writing is it's just set in my flat, like here. So and it's just, I would say and I'm sure you would, anybody that wants to make a film, just like shoot one at home, or shoot, don't go, well, I need a massive warehouse for this, or I need a
Yeah. I mean, that's very true, and it's a good thing. I've always liked chamber pieces, even not in horror. Like 12 Angry Men, and anything that you realize is just in a contained one room, and which makes it far more feasible to make. And that's and horror can be basically as good as the budget doesn't affect it. If you had $100 million and you had a script with 2 people in a room, then fine. That's it's not like you're not compromising on anything, because some of the most effective horror films are in single rooms. Because it's that familiarity that you create and everything. And think of some of the best horror films, and they are incredibly simply made. And they have, and when we would speak with studios and producers, they talk about low footprint, they talk about low head count, they talk about keeping everything small. But if you watch any, like Don't Breathe, that's what 4 people in a room in a house. It's almost just like a free pass to make it without much money and resources, because it needs to be,
I think, and obviously the like clear production company like in the industry that's definitely like running with that as much as possible is like Blumhouse and stuff like that. That's like their thing.
Well, we pitched to Blumhouse.
Did you?
Nightmares to Blumhouse.
Cool.
So we got a good insight into into what they do and what they make, and that it's all. I mean, it's sort of $2 to $5 million horror movies, which is low budget. But it's all very simple stuff. It's all small stuff, and just going back to making films sort of as branded. It's all, they never make a film that is closed by the first one. They have to keep it open for sequels and for franchises and spin-offs series, like The Purge and all that stuff is that's how they make, that's their
thing.
That's their process. So but I think if you can apply all of that thinking to a tiny short you make, and you think everything from branding, so you think of like the title and you call it something which could have a 2 and a 3 and a 4 after it, and if that's what that's the reason you go down, you do that, then you're just showing from your £100 short, you're showing that you understand marketability and how to make something that has growth across different platforms and is accessible and all that. And that's the type of thing that studios want to know that you understand. So
they want to know. They want to know that you have a good business mind. Like,
that's it. It is a business. And I made a film that I showed a lot of people that was 11 minutes, and it wasn't, I wouldn't say it was commercial, and they didn't really like it because it was different, and so I knew that they weren't the right people to show it to. But again, that's just part of the process, learning that. But I think that's something which you've got to try and make sure is in there, is just is that sort of uniform little package that that you feel like you would have a producer would come along and say, change that, make this like that, do that, don't end it like that, because don't kill them all by the end, or whatever. Because that's how it makes more money. So yeah.
In terms of just to be nosy, and I know we've been talking for a while now, so I'm just gonna try. Like, why were you pitching Nightmares to Blumhouse? Were you just pitching about getting money for the short, or was it for, or was it for something else?
So basically, I got approached by a producer in Hollywood who basically wanted to find a short to pitch as a feature.
Cool.
So she approached me, a producer called Kaylee Marsh, who approached me and wanted to take Nightmares, write a pitch. She got a writer, she's a manager as well, so she got a writer called Seth Sherwood, who wrote Leatherface and Hellfest and Light as a Feather on Hulu, and he wrote a pitch with me, and I went out there and we pitched it to about 8 studios. This is at the end of 2016, just after Discover, actually. And we pitched it to Blumhouse, to Legendary, to Ghost House, to Fox, to Regency, and we were pitching a small sort of tech horror. And it sort of went cold, and occasionally it surfaces and someone's interested in it. We were interested. We had interest by Paramount players who are a subdivision of Paramount, who were interested in it. That was sort of, that was my way into being able to pitch to those studios, which I've since done a few times. But it's a very difficult game so making a short film as a proof of concept that comes with a full fleshed out 12-beat story and script, and how you're going to make it, and references, and a move film, and basically a package that somebody would want to move your film into development. We've had like 4 different ideas for Nightmares as a story, as a feature. That's all around an augmented horror game that goes wrong. But it's like I said, that was 4 years ago. It's still there. People are still aware of it. So I'm still hopeful that but you just have to keep on keep on going for it. But again, that was an opportunity that was luck, but I went out there and I pitched it with a mood film that I cut on the plane, and I learned a lot about that side of the industry. And if you want to try and go down that route, it's brutal, but there's lots of things I learned about making things short, making things to the point, not
rambling on.
So short films to me should be short, so the ideal length is 2 or 3 minutes, because you can watch something in 2 or 3 minutes while you make a coffee. You probably can't watch 15 minutes just like that. You have to find the time. So purely as a way to get your film watched, if someone sends me a film that's 15 minutes, I won't watch it straight away. I'll find 15 minutes. If someone sends me a film that's 3 minutes, I'll watch it straight away, because it's like it'll be over before I know it. Nightmares is 3 minutes 11 seconds, and I think that was about long enough. Any longer, and we pitched a Ghost House. Well, we didn't so much pitch, we just chat. We spoke to them. That's Sam Raimi's company. We sent it on the way to someone we knew in there, and while the car was being valeted and we were going up to the top to their office, they had watched it in that time, and then we had a meeting with them.
Cool.
You couldn't have done that with a longer film. You know, so that's lots of things which,
Cool.
you know, I did a film called Ruptured that's bang on 6 minutes. It feels like it's too long to me, but I cut it down from 8 to 6, and I was like, you know, I feel like 6 is fine. I couldn't have told the story in any less. So yeah, you know, that's just more learnings and lessons just through all those meetings, really.
Yeah, no, Ruptured reminds me of, like, actually a lot of your work was like, this could be like a proof of concept for like a Black Mirror episode or something like that.
They're all very
very much
yeah.
like,
I got that. Yeah, I've got that a lot. Someone told me Ruptured didn't go. We picked Ruptured as a feature, but we felt that it was probably, and I think it is. I think it's like a Black Mirror episode. It doesn't feel like you would go to the cinema and watch it. So, which is, you know, I mean, that it is what it is. But yeah, and then Nightmares, I was out in LA with it when Black Mirror released the film, their episode that's about the chip in the back of your neck. You know, so that, you know, Nightmares came before that, but the idea of not knowing what's in front of you and not knowing whether something is augmenting your reality or it's real is, I think is, and, you know, no one's done it. There's nothing that does that type of thing. And then, you know, the hook that I loved was when you are doing Pokemon Go and you're running around trying to find Pokemon, you're seeing other people with your phone, like through the screen.
Yeah.
And I was, what's it doing to those people? And what happens if you move it away and they've disappeared? Like, where have they gone? You know, which is just, that was it. That was the whole hook was, oh, my friend's gone missing. They played a game. Let's find them. They're actually inside the game and something replaced them. And that was what we pitched, and that's what everyone got excited about, was the potential, and that's a concept. The film, the short, was just a vehicle for the concept. Like, it didn't matter who the people were. And that's the trick, is to make a concept that I would pitch that to you, and you go, what if we set it at a party with 100 people, or what if we set it in a hotel, or what if we set it, and suddenly you've got sequels, you've got different ideas, you've got everything because of a concept. If you have an idea which is rooted to people, it's less of a concept. It needs to be about that guy and that girl.
Okay.
But if it's something that's happened to them, it can be a concept that you can apply to, you know, to kids, or to, you know, in a prison. You know what I mean? It's like, it's malleable. Every meeting we were like, it's malleable. So you give them the idea, and then they go, oh, let's mold this into something amazing. Instead of saying, that's it, you can't do anything with it, buy it or don't buy it. So yeah, that sort of hit the nail on the head with Nightmares. And this producer who keeps telling me to try and, you know, replicate it.
Cool. No, so it sounds like you got to make something that they want to scale up, like, you know, make it into a larger thing. That's cool. Well,
you want the meetings, you want them to, our meetings, we pitch the idea, and then we would discuss where it could go, and they would say, what if you change at the beginning? And then you're like, oh, that's a great idea. Or what if you change the end? Great idea. You know, a lot of ideas you can't do that with. But you want to make it like they are part of the process, as opposed to, this is all it is. If you don't like it, then, you know, we're out.
Because the last thing you want to do is make something and, like, that's it, and that's the dead end. You know, once it ends, it ends. So there's
and that's the concept. You know, that's that's like, you know, with the work I do in my day job, you come up with a concept first. You don't think about how you make it. You don't think about length or anything. You have a concept. As soon as you have your concept, you then figure out how you execute it. So you always fall into the trap of execution first. So you go, we're going to make a film, let's do it in black and white. When you're like, well, hold on, what even is it? And then you go, oh, okay, well, actually, let's do it like rotoscoped animation. And then you're like, oh, okay, that would work. Or we could do it, you know, whatever. So just getting into the concept before you get excited about what camera you're going to use or whatever. And then it's the concept you pitch, it's the concept they buy. and then they development is figuring out how to execute the concept in the right time, for the right money, to the best of their ability you can. Like who you're going to cast, who's going to be in it. It's the core, and then it's that concept core that you should be able to pitch in a sentence, and not be saying how you're going to make it. So
I think that's a valid bit of advice, really, because sometimes, I've been guilty of it, and I'm sure people do, where they just sit down and they want to write something, but they're not clear of like the concept or where they want to what are the bare bones at first and stuff. Stuff like that. So what would you say, just like brief answer of like, what would you say is like the best part of working within like the film and TV industry, and what would you say is like the little gripes or the little things that are frustrating to you personally?
I think for me, I think the whole process, I think you've got to love the whole thing. You've got to love, maybe not love, but you've got to be able to throw yourself into every area of it, everything that you have to do, down to logistics, down to everything. You can't just be excited if you want to direct. You can't just be excited about one element of it. I mean, the thing that I missed out on when I was a camera operator, was finishing a piece, was taking it from nothing, not existing, to basically going, I'm done with it, not tinkering, thinking it's out there, and then marketing and getting people to see it and pushing it and getting in, trying to learn from it, getting feedback. That's a whole other side. But just being able to go, right, well, I want to do something, or I have a camera, so I'm going to make a film, and then going, I'm finished now. Like that, as a camera operator, you turn up, director says, right, film that person, and then you finish filming, you're like, great, okay, you can leave now. And I'd be like, what are you going to edit? How are you going to edit this? Like, when can I watch it? And I watch everything I worked on. So that's definitely something which I like, and that I get in everything I do is I am present before it was even an idea to it being finished. But there's lots of things which I like more than others. I get nervous about committing to an idea, to sort of pulling the trigger on an idea and throwing everything into it and thinking, what if in 2 weeks I realize this is a bad idea? That's tricky, but you just need to have conviction that an idea that's good. And whether you have people that you run it by, but the worst thing is to shoot something and then just be like trying to edit around the idea because you're like, this wasn't actually that good. But then saying that, you just got to go for it. So it's a tricky question. I think it's a bit of a sad answer, but I do enjoy the whole process, really.
I like it that it's sort of like it feels like, as a creative, as a like writer, director and stuff, it's almost like a god complex. It's like you're creating this world and you want to see it from start to finish, from the page to like a finished thing. But I wanted to touch upon back to like the film festivals and stuff. Would you say to anybody, and including myself, would you say it's extremely valuable to get your work out into festivals rather than like straight online and people can watch it right then and there? Like, what do you think about that?
I think the most important thing is you go down whichever route means most people can watch it. And that's, for me, that's for just because I need to know what people think of it. I want as many people to see it as possible for a few reasons. I want potentially someone to see it that has an opportunity for me, or can, we can go down we can work together. But then I need people to see it. It doesn't really exist, I don't think, unless people see it. So I think film festivals are very good engaging reaction. And the other thing that's very good with film festivals is getting into festivals where you have to present the film in person, or you do a Q&A, which whenever I'm asked, could I do a Q&A, I'll always say yes, even though I don't really like it, because it's you come with your film, you are part of the film. And if you see a film that you like and someone gets up and you find them really engaging and you like hearing them speak, then you probably like the film even more. Equally, if someone comes up on stage and they're not very sure of what they're doing, and then you probably dislike the film. So it's good practice to sell your film in front of an audience. But then the downside with festivals is there's only a few that count as far as really making a difference with your career, and that's Cannes, Sundance, Raindance, the BAFTAs, and they are very, very, very hard to get into, like Fright Fest for horror, which I've never got into. So yeah, I sort of do like a light pass on festivals. They cost money. A lot of them don't really do anything. So I've had people tell me in LA that festivals mean nothing, that they're a waste of time unless you get into Sundance or Cannes. But again, getting it online, it's a way of people seeing it. And I wouldn't have had the opportunity to go to LA and pitch to studios if I hadn't put Nightmares online. It was on Vimeo that this producer's assistant saw it. So you've got to get it online, but then you can't just put it online and leave it. You have to push it, and you have to contact people and say, can you review this? And you have to do the job of the marketing department and get the film out and about, because if it's not very good, you'll soon hear about it and you'll know. The other thing is I try and get my films on platforms which it's kind of distribution, so like Crypt TV, Dust, which both have Nightmares and Ruptured. They have over 4 million subscribers or something, and Nightmares has had nearly 500,000 views on Crypt. So I push it on Crypt. They accepted it, and it has a platform, and then it kind of has a home. It lives on your thing, but not many people probably go on that. But you get it distributed through a platform on YouTube. Then you can sort of go, that's its final resting place. It's now accessible to be seen. So yeah, I think, to answer your question, I think yes, they're very important, but what's probably more important is just getting as many people to see it as possible in whatever way that is.
Oh, yeah, no, I was sort of just umming and ahhing of that question because I haven't actually put any of my work in festivals as of yet. So I was just sort of questioning that whole debate, saying, is it worth it or is it not? So yeah, that's a good answer. Yeah, it's good.
But I have some films that I don't bother with that I put online, and I think, I put all my effort in the last film in shorts, and I've never had anything out of a festival that I felt like made any real difference. I've made some great contacts, but I haven't had an offer. I haven't had something out of the festival that I thought that was really, really worth it. So if I skip festivals for a short, I'm like, as long as it finds a place somewhere else, I'm like, fine. Each short has to do something. It has to, I have to feel satisfied that it's worked hard once it got made. Like Nightmares did a lot of festivals. I don't think I'll do that again because it was expensive and time consuming.
Fair enough.
But it played in Italy, Egypt, Canada, the US, like everywhere. But all small festivals, nothing. The thing about festivals is if you go into a meeting and they ask you what festivals it's played at, if you say festivals they haven't heard of, you're basically making them up. Like, I could say I've got a festival and it's me in my living room, and unless it's one of the big ones that everyone's heard of,
Yeah.
kind of hasn't happened, which is a really negative way of looking at it. But
Yeah.
no one cares. It's like when you win an award, we put people saying that they've won awards. I'm like, unless you've won an award at Cannes, a BAFTA, an award at Sundance, Raindance, something, an Academy Award, you kind of haven't won an award yet, because it's just someone's. It's not creditable. So, which is it's quite a pessimistic way of looking at it. But,
no. Yeah, that's a realistic way of looking at it, really. Which I think is valuable. So just to end up, because I know we've been talking for a long while, what would you say is your creative goals at the time, right now? What are you excited about? You give us a bit of a tease of what you're up to at the moment. I saw that you got a little animated thing corridor on the works and stuff. So tell us what you're excited about, right now. What are your goals or anything really?
Well, so the corridor is a project I'm working on with an animator, and I have another and a short which I need to get going on. But the goal is always to, through one way or another, I have ideas for features that I'm in the process before they're made. So either I get them made through a short proof of concept. I'm writing a script for a feature that I want to try and find financing for independently. So the idea of the shorts is so that's a basis to make a feature, either through it'll help with financing, it's confidence, it shows that I've done stuff, so it really is just building a body of work through short films that cover a range of approaches, all in horror, because I want to make a horror feature. So it's just making that mound of confidence in myself and in other people. But so I've got a couple of other shorts I'm doing, writing a feature, and really once we're post this pandemic, it's just getting things going again, and because continuing to push hard on that. Making shorts and pitching shorts is difficult to do. I'll carry on. I wouldn't make a short that didn't have a pitch, because you can make a short and a proof of concept at the same time. But I've just got to explore different routes, and it's just keeping going, really. And like we said, just trying to find the opportunities to get stuff seen and made. But I haven't made a film yet. I haven't made a feature yet. So that's always been the goal.
Cool. When you say pitching shorts, where you say that you would only pitch shorts, when you say about pitching them, are you pitching them to producers and stuff like that?
So what I would do is I'd make the short, which I would push as a short, but then I would have a package with it. But then I have studios and other companies that would take a pitch, and I would send them the short and say there's a pitch with this. And it's that's all for Nightmares, who I pitch to. So I pitch to them. It's a tricky route, but it is a way that you do it. But I did make a short that wasn't a proof of concept, and it's just, I don't know how much it helps where I want to go. So you've got to tie in a concept to every short, so you can pitch it.
So you're sort of saying that it's valuable to do shorts, but also it's more valuable that this could possibly lead to something else or lead to something larger.
If that's again what you wanted, the route you want to go down. But if you've ever seen a short and gone, I'd love to see the I'd love to see the feature of this. You know,
Yeah.
Saw was a short.
Yeah.
Obviously, Lights Out was a short. Whiplash was a short.
Yeah.
And they all got the film made. So you sort of you instead of just writing your short, you write the scene that best promotes the idea of the film that's not been made yet.
Yeah.
And you say, there you go, that's the crux of the whole script. And then they go, great, go and write the script, you know. And what it does, it promotes the idea, and also promotes that you can direct it. If you write a script, no one knows you can direct this, so you go away and you make a short, you know. So yeah,
cool. No, that's I think that's a great bit to like end on and stuff like that. So did you want to just say about where people can find you and check out your work and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, easy to find, james-mansell.com, which is should have everything on there.
Cool. No, thank you so much for coming on, James. I really appreciate it.
Good to chat.
Yeah, no, it has been good. Also, if you need like help on anything, give me a shout. Yeah, I'm always super eager to get on whatever, just to be nosy, really. And that was my conversation with James. Oh, I really enjoyed that. We had an in-depth conversation about everything. Yeah, it was super useful for me as an aspiring director to get to talk to somebody that has done so much and has so much planned and is equally passionate about filmmaking. It was a pleasure to have you on, James. Thank you so much for coming on. I hope we get to possibly collaborate with each other in the future, or just continue our dialogue talking over Twitter, which I thoroughly enjoyed. Yeah, and I wish you all the best for your future creative works. Can't wait to see that first feature of yours, or anything really. So I wish you all the best, my man, and you take care. So that is the end of episode 12 of the podcast, and today I thought I would end, as always, with something light-hearted. And I know at the moment the world seems a little bit dark with everything that's going on in America, so I thought I would play this particular important clip from Love Actually, just to remind everyone that even in the darkest moments there is always the light.
Whenever I get gloomy with the state of the world, I think about the arrivals gate at Heathrow Airport. General opinion is starting to make out that we live in a world of hatred and greed. But I don't see that. It seems to me that love is everywhere. Often it's not particularly dignified or newsworthy, but it's always there. Fathers and sons, mothers and daughters, husbands and wives, boyfriends, girlfriends, old friends. When the planes hit the Twin Towers, as far as I know, none of the phone calls from the people on board were messages of hate or revenge. They were all messages of love. If you look for it, I've got a sneaky feeling you'll find that love actually is all around.